Welcome to the Prep Pigskin Report podcast, hosted by Papa Pig himself, Paul Rudy.
Welcome to PPR podcast number 25. Everybody knows Burt. A couple people know me. My name is Paul, and the guy in the middle, everybody knows. Coach Brady Hoke joining us. Coach, we've wanted to do this for 2 months. The fact that we're finally getting to sit down with you just means a ton, and we're really grateful, sir.
Well, I appreciate everything you both do for football in general, but for high school football here in the San Diego area. When I was recruiting down here, when I was at Michigan as an assistant, I could always count on, if I was here on a Friday, to the PPR. But you guys do a great job, and I think the community really has to be excited about what you guys bring all the time, and Burt, your expertise.
Wow, that means a lot. We can call it a conversation. Coach, thanks a lot. We'll see. Coach, we got to talk. We have to talk about one of our finalists. We do a big show at the end of the year. Hopefully one day we're going to get you to come to it. And we have basically a Heisman Trophy presentation. We call them Silver Pigskin finalists. One of them is a young man by the name of Braxton Burmeister. I was wondering if you could update us on whether or not Braxton might be coming your way.
Well, the good news is, and we're excited about it, Brax, in fact, he worked out this morning with our team. We started our runs, our winter conditioning. He's here. He's in school. We're really excited about it. And I'll tell you, from what I just saw this morning, is in his toughness within the team run, I was pretty excited about.
Well, could we just follow up on that? Yeah. Just because here you're getting a guy who's played the game. I mean, it's like a free agent, basically, in college football. How important? Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the transfer portal. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I guess if they're coming your way, it's a good thing, right?
Well, yeah, I agree with that for sure. Obviously, we're excited to have Braxton and the 6 other guys we took out of the portal. But it really is, as you know. I don't know if I'm a great fan of the NIL and the transfer portal come into existence in the same time. I think there's a lot that we don't know, and things that, either from the NCAA, who really doesn't want to touch anything, or guidance from the federal government or somebody, because there are the haves, there are the have-nots. That's part of college football. The portal with the NIL at the same time, the name, image, and likeness. I think, I don't know if it's a fair playing field throughout the country, but at the same time, it may not have been that anyway.
Coach, you talk about Braxton coming to winter workouts. I heard your snowmobile story about the recruiting. Is winter workouts still the 80s brutal, go till you throw up, run through the snow? Or is that softened up like the rest of the game, or is it still as bad?
No, I think what we do, and Adam Hall, our strength coach, and the one thing we believe in here, and when I got here in 2009, 2010, there were some pretty good athletes here. I told Chuck Long, I said, you did a good job of recruiting. I said, now, I think they're soft as shit. Pardon me.
That's all right.
But that, Burt, as you know, when you played, I played, Paul played, it was a toughness game. And we have continued to be our philosophy of mentally tough and physically tough. We may not have the best athletes on the field, but we're going to be tough as a football team. And it starts with the winter conditioning part of it and what you do out there, on the turf, what we do at 6 a.m., and then what we do, obviously, in the weight room.
You referenced this is your second time around. What has changed from your viewpoint, from that office, as far as
Well, he looks like he's lost about 30 pounds.
Well, yeah, you look. Oh, I was going to say that, Coach. You look absolutely great. Good point. Thank you. But I mean, other than your physical side of things, what has changed in your viewpoint as far as being a head coach at San Diego State?
Well, number one, I think, from when we got here early, like I said, I thought they had some pretty good athletes, but they weren't tough. I think we got them tough. I think we set a standard that we believe in. We have a creed that we believe in about how we're going to treat this program as a football team, from past, present, and future Aztec Warriors, and a commitment that we all make, and the toughness. And I think in the second year, you saw that happen. And I think Rock, did a great job, obviously. He was my defensive coordinator, and have tremendous respect. But I think, they kept the standards and took the standards a little higher. So I was really, when I took the job again, I told Rock it was a little easier last time. But our guys who went out this year, they won 12 games. First time that's been done, playing away every game.
Right.
I mean, that to me speaks volumes for the guys who are, and I'm going to say the older guys, the guys who graduated, the guys who aren't here, because they're the one who set the table up, and they did a great job of getting this football team to play how they did to win 12 games.
How's everybody's talking about your snowmobile story, about how recruiting's changed, and Paul always gets mad when I bring up 80s recruiting, because, back then it was who brought the biggest bag of money, and
Will you stop saying that?
Well, the statute of limitations are over. I'm free now.
Believe me, Burt's right.
You know what's interesting? When I was at Pitt, I'm still friends with one of your former players. He said to say hi, Tom Sims. You remember Tom Sims?
Oh, yeah. Tommy is great. Tommy was a great player at Western for us, and obviously when Coach Harbaugh and Jack left, he got let go. I mean, shoot. It's too bad because Jack's a heck of a football coach. When he went over, obviously to Pittsburgh with Mike being his cousin, Tommy left Western and went to Pitt. Tommy's a great guy. In fact, my brother, who coaches for the Falcons, just saw Tommy. And they were somewhere, Tommy said to say hello.
Yeah, I love Jack. I didn't like John too much, but I like Jack.
Yeah. John was my office mate at Western Michigan.
Goodness.
And one night we're leaving the office, and he was young and we were young, and he kind of pushes me in the back, and I turn around and I hit him right in the solar plexus. and I put him to his knees. And Jack told him as we're walking out, he said, "The man said, don't touch me." So that's a true story, too.
Yeah, I love Jack. John, yeah.
For those who didn't get to hear the snowmobile story at your press conference, could you share it with our podcast audience?
Yeah. In the old days, and I shouldn't say old, but in a different time, you would sign the student athletes their NLI at their homes, and a lot of guys would have parties. They'd have friends. You'd have competitors who would be parked outside, trying to be the first one in. But I had part of Indiana when I was at Western Michigan, and so I go down to sign this quarterback out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I had two guys. I had the quarterback and then a running back out of Kokomo, Indiana. And so I'm driving down, and as I'm leaving Michigan, it starts snowing. And it starts snowing, and it starts snowing. And by the time I get into Fort Wayne, I'm going about 25 miles an hour on the highway. And time I get into Fort Wayne, it's a full-on blizzard, and there is no way to get to the house on the road. There's no way. I'm stuck. It's in a cul-de-sac, and I can't get there. Well, there's two kids. They're on Sea-Doos, not Sea-Doos.
Snow machines.
Snowmobiles.
Yeah.
Snowmobiles. So they're on snowmobiles, and I kind of wave them down, and they come over and said, "Hey, I need to get to Haywood's house." It was a quarterback who all of a sudden Purdue would come in on, and we had thought we had. So, Burt, you know the times, right?
Yeah.
So I jump on one of the Sea-Doos, go to not Sea-Doos, snowmobiles, go to the house. We have the signing. He takes me back to my car. I get in my car. I go to a gas station. I call from the gas station in a payphone. I call the next house in Kokomo where I'm going to go. Number one, don't know if I can get in there. The mother answers the phone and says, "Have you talked to Jack Harbaugh?" And I said, "No, I haven't." She said, "Well, he wants you to call him." Well, she gives me a number, and I said, "That's not Jack's number." So I call it, and it's Jack, answers the phone. He's at the hospital in Kalamazoo. My wife had gone into labor. So Jack says, well, I said, "I got to go sign so-and-so out of Kokomo High School." And Jack says, "No, get in the car." And by the time I got to the Michigan line, there were state patrolmen taking me to the hospital in Kalamazoo.
I have a similar story, except it was a Georgia coach, and his rental car broke down, and he brought a Trans Am to my house and left it there for 4 years.
Coach, just because we have an affiliation for some kids that you recruited here at the PPR, namely Lucky Sutton, Trey White, to name two. Both high-profile guys on our show that decided to stay on the Mesa, a trend that seems to be becoming more popular under your administration. Could you talk a little bit about those two, and then the notion of building a wall around San Diego as it relates to Aztec recruiting?
Yeah, that's something, Paul, I think is really important. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and I was always a Michigan fan because all my friends were Ohio State fans. And so to be different and be a jackass, that's what I did. But the one thing I can tell you, it's always been important, and I got it as much as anything from, Coach Schembechler. And Coach Schembechler always talked about recruiting Ohio. And, you get the kids out of Ohio, two things. Number one, they're not going to play against you. And secondly, they're going to play their butts off when they play Ohio State.
Right.
Okay. Well, it's the same thing. We want to take all the guys we can from the city of San Diego. Number one, the coaching is unbelievable. The high school coaches in this city do such a great job. I can remember coming down and going to lunch with Shacklet and Burt and John Carroll and Herb Meyer. I mean, every time as an assistant at Michigan that I came to San Diego, we'd go to lunch and just sit and talk football. And then when I came back as the head coach, Paul, that was important to me that we do a great job keeping these kids home. They can play in front of their families and friends. And it makes San Diego better, obviously, and San Diego State. When Greg Bell came back a year ago, I asked him, I said, "Greg, why'd you come back?" He said, "I want to win a championship for my city, for San Diego." And so a lot of these guys, as I talk to them in the recruiting, you get the same sentiments. Lucky Sutton, I think, obviously, he was your winner of your Pigskin Award. I think he is going to be fantastic as a running back. And what we want to do, Trey White is a physical as you can get linebacker. Really, I love the way he plays. We talked about Braxton, getting him back home. We're excited as heck about that. And then the other one is Rambo, my guy. Funny story. his uncle, I coached at Oregon State. So it was kind of cool when he came back, came to California from Florida, you know, and all of a sudden staying with Tole, really kind of neat.
And I think, you know, the other thing going to recruiting, I think people underestimate the impact that the new stadium's going to have and the trajectory of the team. I mean, how big a deal is that? I mean, open up. It's been a couple of years since you guys have even been home between COVID and playing up north.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be huge coming up.
Well, it is. It is huge. We are excited about it. Burt, it has helped so much in our recruiting. I can tell you, you know, the 21 class, really, you know, we're recruiting those guys all in 2020, but what the guys in that class we're really excited about, from the athleticism to the love they have for the game, you know, the physicalness. You know, we got 13 guys from California signed in that class, this class, and 4 from San Diego. You know, Texas has been good for us, Paul, over the years. You know, and that's Jeff Horton's connection, Hunky Cooper's connections out there. We've really been able to do a good job there, but we're going to recruit the heck out of California.
Can we talk a little bit about San Diego? Obviously, a great place. I mean, I would kill to go to college at San Diego State. I mean,
yeah.
let's face it. I mean, there's a lot that appeals to an 18-year-old kid. A new stadium coming up. But then you also are fighting that you're part of college is getting away from home. And could you talk a little bit about that recruiting dilemma that when you go into a local home that you have to convince a kid that, hey, I know you're staying a little closer than maybe you want to, but man, there's a lot to offer. I would think it would almost be easier to recruit a kid from out of county as opposed to in county.
You know, sometimes it is. I mean, it really is. And, you know, I think every school, obviously, you have a blueprint, you know, for what you stand for, what the program's about, the kind of student athletes, you know, that you want to have within the program. And everybody's a little different. But as we recruit, you know, us trying to convince some guys, hey, you want to stay here. Stay here. And what ends up happening, not all the time, but a lot of time, and I think you'll see this happen more, Paul and Burt, you'll see guys coming back. As long as this transfer portal, you'll see guys who will come back. They're going to go somewhere, maybe not have the experience that they wanted for one reason or another. Same thing could happen when they come here. But I think now to come back to a place like San Diego, that's pretty special. Yeah. And the one, you know, the one thing, excuse me, you know, I've talked about, number one, I can't wait to get out amongst the high school coaches. That we haven't been able to do that with COVID and all that. And I think our staff, and we did a really good job. We did virtual clinics with coaches from San Diego County, LA, Orange County, Samoa, Hawaii. I mean, we've tried to give as much as we can so people would get a feel for who we are and all that. But, you know, to keep the guys, and I said this, you know, we need the coaches' help too. You know, to keep those guys home, we need their help trying to keep them home.
Yeah, you have to get on the campus of Lincoln and break up that pipeline to Oregon.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. It's they've done a great job there, and I think, you know, obviously there's been a few guys from Lincoln who have gone to Oregon, but you know, we're going to keep competing. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And San Diego's unique. I mean, they're almost like Miami. They have this full package of just so much to do. You know, when I came out, I grew up in Philly, and no one was. Bruce Arians was a coach at Temple, but no one was ever coming back to Temple. No one was going there, and no one was coming back. You only see people come back to Miami or San Diego or LA, but it's never. Yeah, for some reason Temple never gets to come back. I don't know why. I'll never figure that out.
Wait, hey, Coach, recruit Burt. How does that conversation go when you're sitting in that living room? Now, Burt, you would never want to recruit because while immensely talented, he never applied himself. Whereas a guy like I was a try-hard guy. I didn't have any talent, but
nobody wants try-hard guys.
But you could. So recruit Burt. How does that conversation go?
You're visiting Southwestern College right now. You come recruit me right now, Brady. Come on. He's a Southwestern. He's coming.
I think number one, we've got so much to be proud of. San Diego State. You look at. We had 104,000 applicants last year. 104,000 to get into school when we take 6,500. All right. So that tells you a couple things. And I'm talking to Burt, but I'm talking to his parent.
His mom, yeah.
Yeah, right? Because when you have that kind of 104,000 taking only 6,500 to 7,000, then it tells you a little bit about the school, how competitive it is, excuse me, and how much that degree will mean, right? And then you look at what we've done as a program, okay? We've won 11 straight bowl games. We were in the right place to go to a bowl game in 2020, but they didn't have enough bowl games. But my point is, the success of the program. You look at guys like Cameron Thomas, from Carlsbad,
right,
and what his career was here, and how much San Diego State was good for him, and how much he was good for San Diego State. So I just think everything we have to offer. Excuse me.
If you're in my house, that's got to be vodka.
Yeah, well, I've recruited a few guys out of Philly, so. But Paul, I just think the significance of how hard and how what kind of program that we have for people to be involved in.
I didn't hear Corvette in that presentation.
Yeah,
but Coach, will you tell them this is mid-'80s? This is SMU time. This is everybody on probation. That's what everybody did.
Wisconsin never did that.
Yes, they said, please, they never did that. That's why Nebraska always beat them.
I know one thing. Wisconsin, in one NFL draft, Wisconsin had 11 players taken.
In one draft?
You remember that, Paul?
Was that the Al Toon years, or when was that?
Yes, it'd have been Al. It'd have been Al and that group.
Wow.
And you think none of them got drafted?
No, I mean, we run a clean program. We believe in student athlete. It's the Michigans of the world, and Ohio State's have the special entrance exam for the. Can we talk about? I don't want to linger on it because you're an SDSU guy, but that Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. Can you give us a little taste of what that's like and how crazy those? Having been to both stadiums covering the Badgers, they are two of the most intimidating places on earth.
Well, that rivalry is like none other, and I believe that, and obviously growing up in Ohio, know pretty much about it, and then being the head coach or being an assistant at one of the schools, and going through, every year that game and the excitement of it and the physicalness of it, and then being the head coach. I mean, it is obviously. To me, one of the greatest rivalries, or if not, in college football. And I loved every one of them.
Right.
Would have liked to win a couple more of them, but we obviously it was a great experience.
Coach, what do you think about? The hot thing last year was seniors opting out of bowl games. What are your feelings on that? I mean, because I went to Pitt, and you saw, Kenny Pickett opted out, and his replacement goes down with a broken collarbone and a plate in there, the first series. So is it a good thing or a bad thing, or it depends on the situation?
I don't like it, and I know kids got to make their decisions and families got to make their decisions, but I still think there's a loyalty to each other and to my teammates. I mean, that to me that would be the hard one. And we've been, we've been pretty good here, and and obviously just the 1 year of me as the head coach again. But I really think that hopefully our program means enough, and to each guy within the team that they want to play for each other and play in those bowl games.
When is it safe enough to, like, if you're not going to play in the bowl game, then why would you play in any of the final
All-Star games
or regular season games? I mean, I mean, if you're
it goes back to, it's the same as I don't want to say this, but I mean, back in our day, you could never opt out. I mean, I don't even know if you're allowed to. That wasn't even a choice, but. I mean, you see guys like Kenny Pickett that opt out, who's going to be a first rounder, and then his backup goes down. You see a lot of, but I think ever since the playoff came in, the bowls, other than the four, don't really mean that much.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Has the playoff thing made other bowl games quaint?
The only thing, and again, I played, Burt played in Power 5. I'm a group of 5 guy, play at Ball State. Any opportunity to play, we were going to take. I mean, I can tell you if there was a bowl game, in Paducah, Kentucky, we were going to go to Paducah and play, But it just, to me, it is, it's a great reward. And do I wish they would expand the, to 12 teams or 8 teams? Yeah, I wish they would. I think that would be interesting, and then keep, we're having a hard time, I believe, finding enough teams for bowl games,
Right.
And so they keep manufacturing some of these bowls, and some of them, I know this year they added one because they didn't have enough.
Right. Hey, please finish your thoughts, sir. I'm sorry.
Well, I think the bowls are really good. I think they're a great reward. Why a kid, I don't know, bad information from, an agent or whatever, but why a guy opts out, I'm not sure. You better be a first rounder, my opinion, if you're going to do something like that.
And a lot of times, with me, my senior year, I got hurt early, missed most of the season, and I had to play in 4, All-Star games. So you had a different effect then. So if I didn't play in them, I wouldn't have been. So, I guess it's different for some guys. But you're right. Then they go to the Senior Bowl. They go to the Hula Bowl, the East-West Shrine. I don't even know what they have anymore. But they still play in those games, and they don't care about the injury.
Yeah, but those are well.
But you're still, I mean, you get
still,
evaluated. But
yeah,
you're getting evaluated. You still have an injury risk there, the same as any other bowl game.
Sure.
Coach, we got to wrap this up. We kept you longer than we promised, so I apologize for that. Last topic. I got into this business because I couldn't figure out a way to get into yours. I've always wanted to be a high school football coach, and I'm hoping to do that in my third act. Give me some advice as a guy who wants to be a high school football coach. How do I go about doing that successfully?
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I graduated from college, I was a federal probation and parole officer. And I was working with the Federal Probation Parole Office out of the Southern District of Indiana. And I had 6 counties on a caseload and 46 people I would see at least once a month. Then there were some that I'd have to see once a week. And if I really enjoyed, I wanted to go to the Secret Service. I wanted to protect the President of the United States. And Reagan had got shot going into my senior year, during my senior year. So I really wanted to do that. And one way was to get into another federal government job first. So my wife and I, we got married. Laura and I got married in college. We got married our senior year, going to our senior year. Best thing that ever happened to me. I promise you, it was the best thing, because I would get in a little trouble if not. So anyway, we're in our married housing when we get a knock on the door, And I open the door, and it's a new high school football coach at Yorktown High School, right outside Muncie, Indiana, right? And he asked if I wanted to help him coach, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I don't know. I said I'd have to check my schedule. And, well, I could check my schedule. If I didn't have to be in federal court, then I could go to practices and all that. Well, going to practice meant also working the weight room and being around the kids all the time and all that kind of stuff. And I come home one day and I tell Laura, I said, Laura, I think I want to quit my job. And she said, well, you're going to quit coaching those kids? I thought you loved that. I said, no, I'm going to quit the job that's paying all the money. Because seriously,
right.
$17,000 and federal, insurance and all that. I said goodbye to for $1,200 a year stipend so I could coach football and be around the kids and develop the kids. I had a coach that developed me, Chris Allen. And Chris Allen, and I had great parents and all that. But I'm going to tell you what, he kicked my ass. And I needed it kicked, believe me. From an academic standpoint, I needed it kicked. And Burt, that's why I coach. Because I want to help guys. I want to help them be successful from an academic end to socially growing as men, and then obviously the football part of it. And that's what I would have told your mother.
That's interesting because you say the Secret Service. My high school coach ended up going in the Secret Service, Joe Clancy, and then became the head of the Secret Service. He was my high school football coach.
Yeah.
I was probably the one failure he had in life.
Well, Coach, we have to let you go. Next, if we ever could do this again, I want to talk about Coach McClain and Coach Hillis, and maybe reminisce a little bit of Big Ten-wise. But it means a ton that you would make time for us. Thank you, 1,000 thank yous. Perhaps we could talk you into one day appearing at the gala, maybe presenting an award. We'll whisk you in and out, make it a 15-minute commitment, and it's going to be right during bowl season for you, so it's always going to be challenging. But, boy, if you could ever do that, we would certainly be appreciative.
Well, I appreciate it, Paul, and thanks. And, Burt, good to see you.
You as well. Thank you, Coach.
Have a great day, and can't wait to see you again.
Podcast 25 is over. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.